Hey, what can I help you with?
I've got some papers and documents from the Lindbergh kidnapping case.
It was the crime of the century. Has anyone seen this stuff before?
You're the first one to see this since the early 1940s. I decided today to come into the pawn shop, but my Lindbergh papers, they were given to my grandmother by a detective. If it's worth enough, I might sell it. It's a picture of the baby, picture of the ransom note.
So where did you get these?
These were willed to my grandmother. Leon Hoyges, the investigator, he rented a room at the hotel that my grandmother managed. He used to tell us about famous cases he had been on. He was hired by Charles Lindbergh to work on the case.
American dream stories don't get bigger than Charles Lindbergh. At the age of 25, he was an unknown airmail pilot, and he decided to be the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic.
In 1932, Charles Lindbergh had just bought a house in New Jersey, really rural. Right after he moved in, his little boy was kidnapped. Right around 10 o'clock at night, a nanny went up to the room. The kid was gone. There was a ladder going up to the window. Weeks after the kidnapping, they ended up finding the baby's body. What most likely happened is when the kidnapper took the child, the kidnapper either killed the kid immediately, or when he was coming down the ladder, he dropped the kid.
In 1932, when 20-month-old Charles Lindbergh Jr. was kidnapped, the story consumed the world. The kidnappers wanted $50,000, and even though it was paid, there was no sign of the Lindbergh baby.
They had written down all the serial numbers and all the money. So 2 years after the kidnapping, some of the bills showed up. What was the guy's name, the guy who was convicted of it?
Bruno Hauptmann.
They traced the money back to him. They found some of the ransom money in his house, and he ended up getting the death penalty for it.
These might interest you. Inside the envelope here are the actual nails that came out of the floorboard of the garage, where supposedly the ladder was made.
Why would he pull floorboards out of his attic and build his own ladder?
One of the rungs in the ladder was broken, right?
That's correct.
So it had to be replaced with a board, so he just pulled a board out of his attic or
They
something.
were comparing if any of the nail holes lined up with the nail holes in the studs of the attic.
So they were trying to do some CSI back in the day. I gotcha. Must have not been too smart of a criminal or he was framed.
Most criminals are pretty stupid.
Back in the 1930s, forensic science wasn't nearly like it is today, but they were making all kinds of leaps and bounds. So like most criminals today, they didn't realize what technology could do until it was too late.
I've also got ransom notes addressed to Charles Lindbergh. There were hundreds of people trying to get in on the act back then.
So people would actually send bogus ransom notes hoping that he would send them some money.
That's correct.
Anyone who would write a random ransom note is just a douchebag.
Beyond just records, this guy seems to have actual evidence from the case itself. There's original ransom notes and actual nails from the Hauptmann house. It's been over 6 decades since anyone's seen this stuff. It's unbelievable.
So did Bruno Hauptmann actually do it, or?
I believe he probably did it.
I personally don't think he did.
You think he was framed?
I think he was framed. There's enough evidence in here that it would convince you also that he was framed. Leon Hoyges felt it was a rush to judgment. The public wanted somebody held responsible, and they executed an innocent man.
Okay, so did he have an idea who did it?
Yes, he did. It was Bruno Hauptmann's friend from Germany. That man stayed at Bruno Hauptmann's home. After the kidnapping, he disappeared. And Leon Hoyges' theory was that he had left some of the ransom money in a tin can as an appreciation for letting him stay there with Bruno Hauptmann.
Okay.
And that backfired. For helping him out, he ended up getting him executed.
This is one of the most incredible items ever to come in the shop, but I have no way of knowing how real this stuff is without someone taking a look at it.
Let me have someone look at all this stuff because I'm a little overwhelmed with it, and he can help us out.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hopefully I can get someone down here right away because I'm really intrigued.
You never believe what we got for you here.
I never believe what you have for me most of the time. I'm the administrator of the Clark County Museum System. So, what do we have?
New evidence in the Lindbergh case.
Okay.
I don't even know where to start.
All right. So, what's the story behind this?
These were handed down to my grandmother by Leon Hoyges.
Okay. Okay, let me take a glance. Do you mind?
Sure, no,
Okay.
go right ahead.
This was one of those cases that caught up everybody in the United States. Charles Lindbergh was probably the most famous person in the United States at that time. And the whole idea of Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr. being kidnapped was just huge. This was something that people throughout the United States were following day by day, step by step. Could they find who did this? Most of Leon Hoyge's papers are at UCLA. Leon Hoyge got involved with doing some of the research on the attic at the Bruno Hauptmann home. The nails from the Hauptmann attic, that's an interesting piece. They tried to prove that one of the side rails on the ladder came from the attic area of the apartment building. This kind of nail would make this kind of a groove in the board once you took them out.
So was it the same?
Yeah, it was. Ransom notes that were part of the case, but they were not the actual ransom notes.
This stuff is just so overwhelming. I just wanted you to look at it and tell me, is it real?
From what I'm seeing here, it looks to me that this is all legitimately Leon Hoyge's papers. I think you have a fascinating collection here.
And I'd like to know whether the guy was innocent or guilty.
The evidence that I have here suggests that Bruno Hauptmann was innocent.
If you've got $13,000 from the ransom, you're in a bad place.
Yeah.
Of course, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories that have been spun out around it. You know, there have been books published probably every 10 years claiming that they've finally found who was actually at fault. So the interest in this is still huge.
I mean, I know you don't give values, but is this like collectible?
Certainly, there'd be researchers who would love this kind of stuff. There's enough conspiracy theorists that they would want to, get into this. It's not something that you're going to find on the open market by any means.
Thanks
Okay.
for what help it was.
Thank you. I am really glad that the family who had this held on to it. It's wonderful material.
So you're looking to sell it?
Yeah, I think I would.
How much did you want for it?
I have no idea.
Okay, that makes two of us. For once in my life, I'm overwhelmed with something. I would give you $1,000, and I am just taking a complete shot in the dark. That's why I'm not gonna offer some crazy number. It's a neat collection. I would love to have it, but you have to understand, it is gonna be difficult to sell.
Would you go 2,000?
No, 1,500 would be it.
If I was to shop around a little bit,
An offer will stand.
boy, I've held on to them for 65 years plus, so from what I've just learned today, I think I'll just pass on it.
Sorry we couldn't make a deal, man.
I didn't want to sell it for $1,500. I don't think $1,500 is that much money in this day and age. It could well be worth more. I'll have to wait and see.